when we talk about automation, this is my criteria. It needs to be small, the scripts. Smaller they are, more maintainable, should be analyzable, should be also rapid. What companies do is like that. Put 4 people for automation, they are automating everything crazily. So after some time they said, okay, so manager, we have automated 3,000 test cases. Okay guys, thank you, but we don't have time to execute those. You need to think about it, yeah? It's not, your job is not only automating it, you need to run those. Otherwise, why to automate it? So they couldn't find a slot to do the execution. It's really funny, but this is the case. So you have limits here, yeah? And also the maintenance stuff. If you put one automation engineer in a team, he has limits, yeah? He has boundaries. He cannot, for example, automate more than 300 test cases, let me say. Okay, it's an abstract number, but something like that. In your case, maybe 200. In other case, maybe 400, but cannot be 10,000. Because, okay, he can do automation all his life, but before he dies, just a couple of minutes before it, when we ask him, run those scripts, because entire life, the last 45 years, you do the scripting automation. When he runs them, just maybe a couple of hundreds can work, yeah? The rest, hundred thousands of them, will be spoiled. So we call them flaky tests. So they are not properly maintained, that's why. And this is very important. We need collaboration within the teams. Agile is also promoting it. When the team is cross-functional and collaborating, it's good. For example, we say business analyst, we need those guys. And why we need those guys? Because with developer, they need to do the requirement specification. If they work with developers closely, we will have better design, for sure. And for those guys, needs to work with testers in order to have better acceptance criteria, yeah? Because we will be the ones who will test those criteria. So we need to define them as well, like an analyst. And also developers and testers need to be working closely for test automation. So this is the collaboration cycle, 360 degrees stuff. So this collaboration is important in the team. And some things, very small reminders, and I should finish. I don't want to make them angry. Until now we are very friendly, so let's keep it that way. So common sense is like that. For example, there is a limit, as I've told you, and it doesn't mean that more test cases I have, it's better testing. No. If they don't fit the purpose, so put it on trash. They are not needed, yeah. And also, what we do currently, we are using Docker, we are using virtual devices in order to do parallel execution, in order to zip this testing execution time. So we need to do those as well. And there is no way of doing test automation. There is no only one way. Like some manager comes and gives you a task. Please, can you automate it? And gives you the same task. You bring me different codes, yeah? And I cannot say that this is the only way to automate it. So it will be differentiated. But currently, almost all the companies in IT area are doing test automation, almost. If you ask the question, are you doing automation? They said, yes. And what's the return? They said, I don't know. Or are you making use of it? Is a big question mark. And the very other big question mark is, what is the quality of the test scripts you have? I think from now on, with a futuristic view, this will be the concern. Not to do automation or not. Okay, we accept that we need to do automation. But we need to have high quality scripts. We need to make them better with many things. You will ask us in panel discussion, so I won't go through those. And performance, like Anne says, if you do it on the end of the life cycle, then it means firefighting. So it means that you will have all the bugs on the life system. So you need to spread it through the life cycle, all this performance testing activities and tools. Generally, they ask me, which one is the best? It's like asking, which car is the best? So for you is a SUV, for me is a sports car, for other one is a van. So there is no answer like that. It's up to the context you have. It's up to the product characteristics, technologies you use. But what we say to companies, choose technologies with the thinking of, okay, at the end you need to test those. And if you are using a technology that cannot be tested properly or truly, don't pick that. It's even, you see, you can affect the technology selection. Testing is that much important for companies. And don't measure people. They say, this bug reporting is spoiling the team dynamics. But if you do personal measurement, yes. If you, every morning, if you say that, okay, for example, Ajur, come here. You have 25 bugs which are not resolved. Do it. Why not? You collect them, something like that. So you need to fix those, man, please. If you do something like that, people will manipulate data, yeah? If you measure people, they will falsify the data. There will be things like, okay, between developer and tester. Guy, you are my friend, don't report it, so I will fix it for you. Guaranteed. And developers start rejecting the bugs, yeah? They do it from just the beginning of development activity in ancient times as well. So they don't like bugs, but if you measure people, data will be manipulated. So you need to measure functions, process, projects instead of people. So this is my last things. And the last slide is, they told that quality, the vision of quality and testing should flow from top to down. So if you have a visionary manager or an upper manager or a CIO, you are lucky. You will have all the funding. But if you have a bad team or if you do bad testing, it's guaranteed that you cannot have any of those funding. So it also flows from bottom to up, quality funding. So you need to show that you are doing good testing and you need to show that it is necessary and a vital activity. That's not a supporting activity. That's a mainstream activity. So you need to show it as a team to your upper managers. So thank you for listening. Hope you are not get bored. So thank you very much.
Perhaps a couple of questions. Let's make that two, and the rest of them can be taken during the panel. So do we have any questions here? Okay, the gentleman.
Thank you for your presentation. It was really good. I just have a question. I come from a gaming development sort of background, so where most of our bugs come in from an integration phase, so especially the high critical ones that impact development and design. So I want to know whether you think that Agile supports
gaming industry.
Yeah, the gaming industry basically.
Of course. Yeah. If you ask me, there is no industry that Agile cannot be adopted like gaming. But in gaming industry, when you think about testing, for example, it is more exploratory than any other testing in the world, yeah? So you can have scripted test cases, but you are testing a game. So how can it be scripted? It's not, you are not following patterns in a game, users. So you need to reflect those user behavior into your test. That is, I think, the most important difference it brings when I think of testing. It needs to be done in a more exploratory fashion, mood. But other than that, Agile, you can adapt it. And people generally, they reject Agile. They say that, okay, our client wants a product that can be tangible. is working. That's why we need to do it as a project. So we need to deliver the product to those, and it should be something visible. But it doesn't mean that you cannot do agile internally. Yeah? You can split this, and we call that product that is shippable. So before achieving to that product, you can do agile internally as well. So if you come to integration testing, let us also discuss it in the break, because it will be, I need some time to explain it, so hopefully it's satisfy your
In fact, Barish has a tabletop space in the pre-function area. So
I have a table, yes.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my table, yeah. I wasn't expecting it, by the way. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is very nice for me.
Thank you. So any further questions probably can be taken there during the break, followed by the panel session. We have time. Thanks for that power-packed presentation.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Lovely having you here.
Thank you.
A token of appreciation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there you go. All right, welcome to the post-tea session of today's conference. So, as discussed, we would be having a panel session now that would be moderated by Prashant, the director and the partner of KPMG. We also have with us Mr. Thakur Das Paul, the Senior Director of Quality Engineering with Manhattan Associates. Of course, Anne-Marie, who took our first presentation for the day. She represents Testing Times. We have Barish, who just concluded his session before tea. And we have Mr. Manoj Kumar CB, the Senior Test Manager with IBS. So, Prashant, since you would be moderating the discussion, I would leave it over to you in terms of, taking the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be at this conference for the 5th time, and I think always sometimes I'm part of the panel, but today I'll be asking the questions, so it's much easier for me, and they'll have to face the questions, I suppose, actually, so that's good. So I think that just to put the context in terms of what we are discussing today, this is about automation that's coming up in the IT industry, and you hear time and again in newspapers and all that. So what's happening? There is a lot of excitement about automation. At the same point of time, there is also a lot of anxiety about automation in terms of what's going to happen to job losses and many other things actually. So I think right now if you look at automation is everywhere. So I went a few days back to get a SIM card for my Vodafone subscription. And when I went there, immediately they took my Aadhaar, and I was really surprised. Within about minutes, they verified me completely, and it was validated. Amazing to see how technology has kind of come off, actually. That is one part we are seeing. The other is an excellent example of that kind of automation happening in the Indian industry itself. That is one part of it. Now, a few weeks back, I took my whole of my team to IBM Watson. That is the most cognitive kind of thing that you can see at this point, most advanced. So a lot of companies in India right now are using this from a automation space. For example, Manipal is using this from a diagnosis and those areas. So that engine of automation is also coming up. The third is, I think all of you must have heard about bots or RPA, robotic process automation. So that's the area that has come off in a big way. I think I heard ANZ, I don't know whether anybody from ANZ is here. They have developed 20,000 bots to automate most of the repetitive tasks. So you see that in and out in most organizations. So that's the context of what we are discussing and what will be the role of testing. But before we go in there, we also just wanted to understand what's happening at this point of time in the industry. It's maybe in a short term to medium term what's happening. It's also important for us while we look at a longer horizon, which is more from an AI, cognitive, those areas. So that part also would be discussed before we go into the automation side. So that's what. So we have a very esteemed panel here. I think two of them addressed you as part of the initial discussion, but just to introduce them formally, We have Anne-Marie, who is the quality coach and test leader for Sydney testing time. She's settled in Australia, but she still hasn't got an Australian accent, I can make it. In fact, she's from Ireland and settled in Australia for about 20 years. And she has previously worked in Tyro Payments, IAG, Maguire Group. Those are the companies she worked. This is her first visit to India, so welcome to India, and as well as the traffic in Bangalore. So both of this I just want to welcome you to. And I think she also runs a non-profit organization called Speak Easy, which is to have diversity in conferences for women. That's good. You're part of this conference and in the panel as well. That's good. Other than work, her interest is fitness. I think many of us are. She's into jogging and running, those kind of areas. So that's about Anne-Marie. Welcome to this session. Then we have Barish. I think Barish is also, this is the second time he is in India. He has been in Bangalore before, and Bangalore second time, I think. No, India also second time. And he's the managing partner for Keytrog Software based in Istanbul. It's in Turkey, but works across European countries. He works in Azerbaijan, Brussels, and some of the other European countries as well. So maybe it will be good to get the European perspective here. And previously worked in very good companies like Infineon, Boeing, Siemens, Huawei. So you have a host of the leading edge technology players where he has worked. He doesn't call himself doctor, but he's he's got a PhD as well. So that's commendable. And then I think his hobby, he says, is traveling around the world. He travels at least about 6 to 8 conferences on an annual basis while keeping his daughter engaged. But with technology you can do these days, you can use WhatsApp call and those things to keep yourself engaged. So that's about Barish, and he's got interest in sports as well. I think I also wanted to introduce Manoj, who is a senior test manager from IBS. He has worked in infinite computing before, and he comes from a product background, so he's going to kind of touch upon the product area and how things are working from a testing space, especially in the automation side. So all the questions you have on automation, you can direct it to him. He is an expert. He likes trekking as the other area, so that's one. And last, I think we have Thakur Das Paul. He is a senior director with Manhattan Associates. He is leading a team of about 160 people within the organization. Previously, he worked in SAP as a director for testing. So from a product testing of both SAP and Manhattan Associates, he can give his perspective, and CGA as well. He runs very interesting, he runs an equal opportunity for autistic people to be inducted in testing. So that's a very noble cause. I think he runs there. And his other interest is to play video games with his son. So that's about Thakur as well. Thanks, Thakur, for joining. And so I just wanted to keep it open. The format we follow is I have some questions to ask them, but let's have as many questions from the audience itself. So we'll break it into broadly 2 parts of what is happening in the industry at this point of time, and secondly, what is going to happen in the future in testing. So that broadly is what we will discuss. Before that, I just wanted to ask each of them about how did they come in the field of testing itself. So maybe, Barish, you want to start off. How did you come into this field, and what have you kind of reached this stage actually? Good.
Thank you. So let me tell my story. I was in a development team working as a software developer, as I've told you. Then they assigned me to a laboratory which is located in Munich in Germany. When I first went there, everything was the same, almost the same. We were developing code and so on. Then they told me, the manager, the supervisor of me, he told me, do you know we are constructing a testing team here, and we want a leader for the team. How do you feel? I said, let me think about it a little bit. So I took one day for thinking about it, and I did a research. I talked with my friends. They told me, okay, what you will do in a testing team, it's not good. There are many underachieving people there. All the rejects from the departments will be there. It's like a rehabilitation place for underachieving people, something like that. And no one were willing to be in the team, by the way. We struggled a lot to find the correct people to position them. But I think that, okay, if no one is coming to the team and I will be there, it will be a good opportunity for me to develop, yeah? Because all the seats will be empty and I can fill those seats. And other than that, when I look deeper into the testing field, I see that there is analysis in it, there is project management in it, there is coding in it, there is scripting in it, there is computer networks, there is database. So almost all the dimensions of information technologies are there. So it's not a shallow area. It's a very, very deep area you can dive into. So that's how I said, okay, if no one is coming, I will be there. And people will know me one day. Because if I was doing development, it will be, at those times, it will be hard to be recognized. Because, yeah, almost everyone is doing coding. So this area it was at those times a little bit primitive when you compare it with other disciplines. So that's how I enroll. But of course, now it was maybe the best decision in my career. So, okay. So if you are testers, stay. So this is my perspective.
Very good. Thank you. I think good to say that. Yeah, Anne-Marie, how did you?
Yeah, don't know how to beat that story. So I like to say that I didn't choose software testing. I mean, who chooses software testing? But software testing chose me, for sure. So I left university right when there was a major recession. Couldn't get a job. And so somebody said to me, well, why don't you come and work for the European Commission testing protocols? So I was an electronic engineer, I had experience in the telco space, and they said, yes, you can test protocols to the European standards using emulators and simulators. And I thought, okay, well, that's semi-technical, I'll go in and do that. And I just got totally hooked by the whole concept, because here there were machines, you know, in those days they were fax machines or very early video phones, and you would test them to the standard. And then you connect the two together, and they didn't work. And it was fascinating to me, and it's then I realized that testing is so much broader than just the actual electronics or the communication, but that it's a system, and it's a system that involves people. And